Hello, anybody, somebody, nobody, whoever never see this. This is Siegfried Alexander Faust, the Wiv, coming back at you with some more Warhammer 40k. I'm going to be showing you Black Templars. I had to make a quick change because I realized for the detachment rules, you cannot include Agents of Imperium, aka Inquisitors and Assassins from Assassinorum. So, yeah, I made such change. It's not completely reflected here, though, but I will discuss it. So, you're going to have a Black Templar Battalion, 2,000 point, 2 CP. You're going to have 4 5-man Crusade squads, 3 10-man Primaris Sword Brother squads, a Lieutenant, a Leviathan Dreadnought, 1 High Marshal Helbrecht, 1 The Emperor's Champion, they got really cool lore, and 1 5-man Devastator squad. The Templar vows, you choose one. Beginning of the game, you either could choose Suffer Not the Unclean to Live, Accept Any Challenge, Abhor the Witch and Destroy the Witch, or Uphold and Honor the Emperor. I will go into detail about what these do in a bit. The chapter tactics, they have like the custom. These are custom ones you can choose. So you can reroll advanced and charge rolls made for the unit with this tactic, which is good. And then each time a model with this tactic would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6. On a 5-up, wound is not lost. So 5-up, feel no pain against mortals. Again, you could change this to make them even more melee heavy, but I think this is kind of cool. Especially if you go against a psyker, then that's going to be much more beneficial. So I like to keep that. If you want to do more melee faction, just play a more melee faction, sub-faction, if you will, or do the custom list. So I took out the Calidus Assassin, added the 4th Crusade squad, and then I end up giving the Lieutenant, which is not reflected here, you're going to give him a Combi Melta and a Power Sword. And then I'll round out your points quite smoothly. So the Templar vows. So starting with Suffer Not the Unclean to Live, if you choose this one, each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against a non-vehicle unit, the unmodified hit roll of 6 auto wounds. So against non-vehicles, hits of 6 auto wound. But the passion is when it's because they're just like so insane for the Emperor. Each time the unit is selected to charge, the closest enemy non-aircraft within 12 inches and not within engagement range of any other Black Templars must be the charge target. So you must, in a way, charge your closest target if you chose that vow. The Uphold the Honor the Emperor vow, the models get a 5-up invul. Armor of Contempt, not really super necessary right now. Each time a model attack is made against it, they get trans of 1 to 2. 1's not a thing, so that's more so trans for any 2s on the wound roll. It's unmodified, irrespective of any abilities your opponent might have. The Passion, which is the downside, is each time an enemy model makes an attack against this unit, that unit does not get the benefit of cover. So you also lose light cover. This is ass. Do not take the Uphold the Honor of the Emperor. It is a trap. Maybe in some matchups where, like, Tau, Melta spam, where they ignore your light cover anyway, then sure, you're shrugging some 2s, and you're bringing 5s to the table instead of 6s. That's the only matchup off the top of my head that is good. If you know, but because you get to choose this before you go into the match, you don't have to make it part of your list. So in a tournament, you can choose depending on who you go against. That would then be good. Abhor the Witch, Destroy the Witch. Once per battle in your movement phase, if there are any enemy psykers units in your opponent's army until the end of the phase, add 3 inches to move characters of models in this unit. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against a psyker, reroll a wound roll of 1. So they're getting reroll the wounds of 1 when they do melees. And then Passion, when enemy psykers within 18, unit cannot perform any actions. So that's kind of bad. The psykers shut down your actions, but you should be getting more damage output against psykers. This is also very niche. If you're going against any of the 3 big psyker factions, which is Grey Knights, Thousand Suns, and Tyranids, then you can take this. If not, then you don't worry about it. Accept any challenge, no matter the odds. That vow is when this unit is within engagement range of any enemy units. If a combat doctrine is active for your army, that unit gets the bonus of the assault doctrine instead of the current doctrine they have. So this gets you the assault doctrine turn 1 to turn 2, which is great. Each time a unit fights, until the fight is resolved, add 1 to the attack characteristics of the models in that unit. This is not cumulative with Shock Assault, meaning that if you were already engagement and neither of you charged, then going forward, you're still getting the bonus attack, even though nobody was charged or charged. But the passion is you cannot fall back. You have to get stuck in. There is one of these that works against every opponent, at least in some beneficial way. So kind of like the Death Watch, this can be balanced against everyone. And if you want to do narrative, this is debatably one of the best armies for narrative crusade, because they're literally crusaders on an ever-ending crusade. And they have more Space Marines than any other legion, because they're capped at 1,000. These guys, they're on crusade, they're not capped, so they literally outnumber anybody else. It's, I don't know, I like this army a lot, and hell, it was made by Sigismund. I don't like Black Templars in the lore. Like, the characters, cool. Them themselves, meh. If it's not a named person or a certain event, then they're just a bunch of people, a bunch of dudes. I think other Imperium Space Marine factions are a bit more interesting personally. So this is very melee heavy. I threw in the Devastators because I believe getting that 2-up is going to be better in some scenarios, because they also have the multi-meltas compared to the Eradicators, which just gets double shots. Boy, I feel like it's more of a trade-off that you're missing out on. Is better to have the Devastators. The thing with the Eradicators is they get an extra wound. I feel like in most scenarios it's a trap, but in some scenarios it can be better. I think it was like ravenguard or somebody needs to be entirely on cover, so it's better if you have smaller squads. That's really niche and weird. But otherwise, I felt like required to put them in because they otherwise have almost no melta capability in the army. They have very little to none, so that's just going to give them a bit more oomph against at least one spooky if your opponent runs one big spooky. Yeah. And I believe there's just a regular Space Marine thing where you can count them as having remained stationary. So that's just the one squad, so that'll just work out nicely. Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put it down below. Any advice, recommendations, complaints, compliments, etc. If you... I said that twice, cringe. If you like the kind of content I produce, like, share, and subscribe. I post my Battlescribe lists in the Google Drive below for people to download, check out, run them if they want. Critique them in your own time. If you want, feel free to stop on by my Twitch. Link will also be below. And I hope everyone has a great day. I could just keep talking about Warhammer forever, but be beating a dead horse. Again, if you want melee, you don't want to be a shooty spam, you love the Black Templars, here's a list I would recommend. I wish I could run Galladus, but I can't. I can't. One thing I will check real quick though is damn, I was hoping you could run more than a one Emperor's Champion, because there is more than one Emperor's Champion. It's like, I think 8 or 10 or something. But you're only allowed to run one, unfortunately. Big sad. You could change the list up to run a few more to run some, what are they called? Wow, brain fart. Chaplains. Hell, you could even take out a lieutenant for a chaplain. That's something to be thought about. I just feel that while getting the extra, like, I don't know, Canticle of Hate would be great for this army. Boy, the lieutenant being able to give rerolls of 1 is kind of better. It really depends on what you're fighting. I would definitely say look into the chaplains, because the chaplains have some cool stuff, but most of their cooler stuff is relics, and you're having to pay even more CP to get that stuff now. I think that's what my issue was. Like, I want a chaplain because +2 to movement for +2 to charge. Hell yeah, who wouldn't? But I don't know. It's just I feel like you're gonna get more technically with the lieutenant, because there's a lot of go fast armies anyway. If they get stuck into you, then you're still getting the extra attack if you choose that other one, and so you're gonna get more payoff with that. Especially because of how I built the Primaris Sword Brethren squads. You can kind of pick and choose. The chainswords are actually power axes, ignore that. What dies and what doesn't. For these squads, I didn't go into it, but they have 2 lightning claws, 2 power axes, and then 1 thunder hammer each, to try to give them some versatility. Yeah. Take care. Game on, guys.